daughter, she's obsessed with creating and animation and stuff like that. And she wanted to know, when did you discover your love of animation and who were your greatest influences?
I, to be honest, I thought animation was real for a very long time. I had no, like, there was no distinction to me as a child between watching a movie that was animated and like it only dawned on me quite like late, almost I'm like, wait, was I, what did I think was going on? But like for me, like this, I just, to me, the Little Mermaid was like a real person. Like I had no, it was like no distinction for me. So I actually didn't have like early animation heroes because I didn't really understand what was going on. I think, but now as somebody who makes this stuff, I actually think it's kind of a beautiful thing that I was just accepting of this like wonderful reality of like this like these imaginative world that like the Disney animators were putting in front of me, and I was just like, yep, that's what I want, you know, like that exists, of course, you know, like it was so real to me. I would say like I I knew I think I knew I wanted to be, in my mind, I remember thinking I wanted to be a director because I thought that's what it was. So I had like, I think I was like in 5th grade, I went to like Universal Studios and like Disney, Florida. And everyone was like picking out their like Hollywood star that they were gonna, you know, like my sister picked like actress and my brother picked like the Terminator. And I was like, no, I want the director badge. Like, because I thought that I could make movies. Like that's what I thought was what I was gonna do and what I wanted to do. And I always knew I could draw. So it was like this kind of like thing that came together that was like, I liked art and I liked making films and movies, and almost like this is like the mixture of those two things. Animation is a mixture of those two loves. I think as a student and as, you know, when I finally discovered what animation really was and how daunting and crazy and insane it was, and I almost quit college because of it, I was like very inspired then by actually like Mary Blair, because I thought she was like the only person at the time that I could find that was like, well, she's in animation and she did all these like movies that I loved as a kid. And that was like really inspiring to me as like, as a college student, when I was like figuring out what animation really was and how I could fit into the space. So I would say early on, she was probably one of my bigger influences. I think I always looked more towards like female artists and female voices in this space, and they were hard to find. So I think when I like saw that, it was just like, oh, that could be me. Or like you know, like I really liked, even this has nothing to do with animation, but because I liked film, Sophia Ford Coppola at the time was like coming out with films that were like very unique at the time, and I was just like, oh, that, you know, there's that kind of creative voice that's like I haven't seen before. So for me, I would say, yeah, it's not, I wish I could say like, I don't know, as a kid I always looked up to Glenn Keane, but honestly I just didn't even know he existed. I just thought The Little Mermaid was real. Like, and then only when I got a little bit older was I looking for those like female artistic and filmic like heroes that I think kind of pointed the needle forward. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that, you know, I could find my voice in something similar like they're doing it. And I wish there were more at the time than Mary Blair, but that really was one of the first people that I really was like enamored with, and her history at the Walt Disney Company. I wish I had more, but there weren't that many, unfortunately, like female.
Well, that's why, like, you know, ladies like you are, you know, you're making that change now. So the next generation will have plenty to look up to.
Right. No, I think that's what's been wonderful about at least the last 5 years, is that there are so many more women and, you know, in this space, and girls who know who those are. Like that's, you know, that's really exciting that that's starting to shift.
Well, and, you know, kind of a almost tags on to Ashley's question, but not entirely. But do you have a favorite style of animation that you prefer to create or work with?
I have like style ADD, and I think that's because I actually have ADD. So like for me, it's been animation has been really fun because of that, because one of the, you know, virtues of an animation artist is that they can shift and mold into different styles. it's kind of part of the gig, you know. When you're an illustrator or a fine artist, it's really about your own unique voice and finding your thing and finding your aesthetic. In animation, you get to kind of step into, I look at it as like I don't know, like a dress up box, and I get to like pick different different styles to wear and play with. And this is very different than what I did before this. I worked on a show called Unikitty that was like sparkle explosion, and I loved it. Like the palettes were exciting and there was so much texture, and it was exciting to me because I was like, who's ever gonna let me make a world full of glitter and a cat that lives in a pink castle that looks like a cat? Like, that's insane. Who's gonna let me do that? I want to do that. So that was really exciting to me for that reason. And then stepping into Cuphead was like really exciting because I got to flex this love that I have for the actual medium of animation, like where it started, the history behind it, the kind of naturalistic palettes that come along with it. So I would say, and you know, next I really want to probably try something in the 3D space and push that. Like, I think for me, it's less about the style and more about the world I feel like stepping into for about 2 to 3 years, and how I'm going to wear that and how I want to like play in that space and the kind of artistic skills I want to push within while I'm working on that specific show. I will say my heart beats a little faster for 2D because I think it's this like classic timeless medium. I don't, you know, I've tried watching Toy Story. I loved it when I was young, and I look at it now and I'm like, that is terrifying to look at. After all this time, it hasn't aged well. But then I look at a movie like 101 Dalmatians, which was probably made in like the 60s, and it's gorgeous. It retains this like artistic beauty that, you know, a lot of the other animated mediums can't hold on to. So style wise, I have ADD. I kind of love it all. As long as it's beautiful and fun to play with, I'm into it. But medium wise, I have a special little place for 2D animation.
Were there specific things that you wanted to bring out, you know, in the animated series from, you know, say the video game and, you know, to bring it all together?
Yeah, we looked to the game a lot. Like the game did some really, really beautiful things. The biggest difference between what we were able to accomplish in the game is we just had different levers that needed to be pulled, right? Like for a game, for the art for a game, you're making a lot less art for a video game, you know? So you can actually do things. They actually really stuck to traditional methods because the volume of work they produced allowed them to do that. For us, it's different, you know, to make an animated series, the amount of assets, artwork, unique pieces that need to be created are, you know, in the thousands. So it's a very different thing to do. But being said, you know, the spirit of the game is absolutely in what we did. We wanted to retain as much of the game as we could. We just wanted to do it for a TV show, right? For the narrative format, which entails different things. You have to get these characters to act, and you have to get you have to get them to do things that they would never do in the game and take them to places that don't exist in the game. And so we're just pressing on like different artistic buttons than they are in the game, but it's all coming from the same spirit. And it's something that we wanted to feel like they come from the same world, but almost like they were shot on slightly different cameras. Or it's like if back in the day you saw this you would never see this in an arcade because it doesn't work. But that idea that like you could see this in one medium and then translates to another one in a really kind of cohesive way, allowing for the differences to still remain there, because the differences needed to be there. I like that you said he was your son.
My 10-year-old.
Yeah, was kind of picked up on how clean the animation is. Like
Yes.
That is something we talked about a lot because we knew that fans, like there's this like grittiness to the game, and they can create things in a way that, because it's paper, like and watercolor that you're seeing on screen, it has this really nice kind of tactile quality to that. Mm-hmm. We couldn't do that because obviously we had to use digital tools. So we did instead was like up the ante. We made the production value higher so that you as a consumer still felt like you were getting something that was top tier, like premium for TV kind of thing.
Yes.
And so that's part of it. Some people don't like that it's clean, but I think we were aiming at a modern audience, right? Like we were like, as much as we love the video game, we had to make something new and something innovative and push the envelope in our medium. And they were pushing the envelope in the kind of game space, and I think we needed to push the envelope in the animated format.
If there are young women who are watching this and saying, you know what, I want to do that, I want to be an animator, what would be your advice to them as far as getting into the entertainment space, the animation space? What kind of steps can they take to work on pursuing that?
I think, I think when I was younger, I would have been like, work hard, work every day, get really good at drawing. But I think the more I get into it now, I actually think it's the opposite. I actually think you have to play a lot. I think you have to keep that sense of play alive as long as you can. I think I was one of those kids that was like very aware of childhood. Like I did not want to grow up. I was like, I'll take my time. Everyone's rushing to it. I'm good. And I think like that's kind of helped me in what I do, like retaining this like sense of creative playfulness. I think is super important. So as much as you have a goal of, maybe the goal is to get really good at drawing over a summer, or to, I don't know, maybe shoot a little movie with your friends over, a weekend. Like, I think that's the kind, if you're a kid, like that's the kind of things that I think you should explore at that point. If you're trying to actually break into the industry, that's a different thing. Like I think school is important, learning is important, education and connections are important. But if you're a kid and you're looking at this and thinking, how do I get into that when I'm older, I would say have fun, enjoy things so that you can tell good stories later, and retain that kind of creative play in either your artwork or films or TikToks, whatever, like just create and learn how to love to create, and then toss that out and then do it again. Because I think that's really what animation is. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of play. And you have to really like hone in on those skill sets to kind of make things that are, deemed successful for other people to watch. And when you're a creator in this space, like that's really what it takes. You're really putting yourself out there, showing your ideas, trying, failing, trying it again. Like, and through it all, you have to kind of still retain that, like, hey, this is fun. At the end of the day, like I'm hanging out with these 2 cups, like, and we're blowing up stuff. Like, it's funny. You can't, I try, it is a job, of course, but at the same time, I try to keep that perspective when I'm working on stuff. And I think kids more than anyone should really, really hold on to that perspective while they're thinking about maybe venturing into making animation.